my next segment is about a guy that is completely whack, right? So, have you heard of Brian Johnson? And
Yes.
I don't mean the lead singer of AC/DC
I
either.
didn't know that's
So,
what his name was. Brian
okay.
Johnson. Brian isn't Brian doesn't he like isn't he the CEO of one of the exchanges?
No,
No,
so,
that's Brian
that's
something else. That's
yeah,
Brian Armstrong.
that is Brian Armstrong. That's right. He's CEO of Coinbase. So,
Sorry.
okay, so
No, I don't think I do.
I'll talk about this guy.
I don't think I do.
Yeah, cool. All right. So I'll talk about this guy from what he's trying to do first, then I'll kind of maybe explain a little more around who he is. He's famous for trying to, and by famous, I mean he's lightly famous for trying to reverse the aging process. So he has this team of more than 30 medical professionals who are working hard to keep him aging at a slower rate, right?
Him.
So, yeah, so he's doing it on himself. He's doing the whole experiment on himself. So the project is called Blueprint, and it's all about spending any and all resources to stay the same biological age while his chronological age is increasing, right? So he's currently 45 and he's trying to stay 18, right?
Right.
And so basically, he's been doing this for the last couple of years. So Johnson claims that he's aging slower than a 10-year-old at the moment. So this is down to his pretty crazy routine. So he eats exactly 1,970 calories every day. He does daily testing. He does a precise exercise routine. All of that starts at exactly 4:30 every day. He's been doing this. He's been doing life this way for 2 years now, and he's vlogging every day as well. So he's got a YouTube channel. And basically, he goes to bed exactly the same time every day as well. He eats three meals a day, and some of them just look like slop, right? And he eats all of them before 11 a.m. He's got a strict vegan diet,
Vegan.
and along with these, he has 30 supplements a day.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
he's got a temperature-controlled room with a heat-moderating mattress, and one of the craziest parts of his routine, and I almost brought this up in the previous episode that we shot, is that he uses his son as a blood boy.
Oh,
So he does blood transfusions from his 17-year-old son to try and keep himself from aging.
that seems like gross to me. I don't know why.
Oh, it's very gross.
Yeah.
It's pretty insane. So I don't know if he does it regularly. It's something it's something I did watch a video of that he made of his 17-year-old son and him doing a transfusion, which is very interesting. So in terms of testing, Brian does organ measurement tests, blood tests, breathing observations, and skin damage scans. I think every day. And what you might be wondering is, how does he afford this
I
lifestyle?
was literally thinking, how does such an insane person have the means to do something like this?
Exactly. Okay, so we now know what he's doing, but this routine is costing him $2 million a year, right? So how does he afford it? So Brian's actually a multi-time founder. I'll start with his first company. So he founded a company called Braintree in 2007,
Okay.
which you might not have heard of, but you would have heard of the company that he acquired. So this was a company that specialized in mobile and web payments for e-commerce.
Mm-hmm.
And this company acquired Venmo in 2012 for $26 million. And then that company, Braintree, which owned Venmo, was later acquired in 2013, the next year, by PayPal for $800 million.
That's crazy.
So that's a pretty cool founding story. That's just his first company. The second company he started was a VC firm. So this was called OS Fund, and he started this in 2014, the next year after selling to PayPal. It was backed by his own $100 million of personal capital. And it's a fund specifically for investing in ideas that relate to artificial intelligence and machine learning in the areas of synthetic biology, nanotechnology, and genomics.
Okay.
So
Cool.
pretty interesting,
Very interesting.
pretty interesting fund.
For sure.
And then 2 years later, in 2016, Brian founded his third company. So this was called Kernel, and with a K, so KERNEL. And he funded that with 100 million of his own money. And then this is a company that makes helmets that study brain activity. So he invested a further 53 million personally, and then he raised 54 million of outside investment as well. So about a $200 million company in terms of funding. And in 2020, they had a actual demo product of the helmet. It's interesting. I don't know if it actually has a working product yet, or if he just built a company to scan his own brain. I don't know, but
Or it's just that situation. What was that EV company where they just pushed the truck down the hill?
yeah, maybe. Yeah, it could be that. Yeah. Could just
What
be a
company was
standard
that?
MRI machine. It was
Yeah, what's it called? Ah,
Nikola.
Nikola. Yes,
Yeah, it was Nikola.
Nikola
Yeah,
truck
they just rolled.
getting pushed down the hills. Oh, funny! What a
Yeah,
funny one.
I was thinking it's not Tesla. It was
No.
trying to be the same thing as Tesla though. Yeah.
It's so funny.
Yep. So what inspired this lifestyle, right? It was overeating. And he, being insane, actually he considers overeating as self-harm. So he was saying that in this interview, he was self-harming every day. And I was like, whoa, that's very insane. But he was actually just overeating. So he was a father of 3, startup
Wow.
founder.
So
And so
intense.
there was a lot of external pressures, and he would overeat from 7 to 10 p.m. every day, is what he said, every night. And so he considered this as self-harm, and so he had to fire Evening Brian from making decisions, and like kind of make the decisions early up about what he would kind of do. And so you can see that he eats all 3 meals before 11 a.m. So he must be he's well and truly fired Evening Brian.
Wait, he eats. Wait, I didn't hear that bit. He eats all his meals before 11 a.m.
Yeah, so he eats all 3 meals for the day before 11 a.m.
That is so weird.
Yeah.
What?
As if that's the weirdest part.
I don't know. Yeah, that's not the weirdest part, but I don't know. That hits me different
Yeah, it is strange.
because I don't eat anything before 11 a.m. So it just feels weird to me.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it still counts as intermittent fasting
For sure,
if
it
it's
definitely
the other
is.
way around.
And and there is an argument to it because it means that you're actually burning the calories before you lay down for 8 hours, as opposed to eating big calories 2 hours before you do that. So I mean, I get it. It's just very unorthodox.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, but anyway, he's well and truly fired Evening Brian there.
Okay, yes.
So here are the claims that he's got from the effects of Blueprint, right? So his body inflammation levels are 66% below the average 10-year-old. So that's how well the body's immune system responds to irritants.
Inflammation. Can we talk about inflammation for a second, or do you want to keep going?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah, I just have an anecdote here. So this is so random, but I think it is related. I promise. I sold a monitor screen to on Marketplace, and the guy who came and picked it up was an osteopath.
Right.
Do you know what osteopaths do?
They're like a chiropractor, but more fake.
Very controversial. So he said, do you know what the word is so weird. Osteopathy. Do you know what osteopathy is? And I said, no, I suppose I don't really. I probably had a similar response to you. Like, chiropractor is kind of similar, right? You know, you just like touch things and do things and it's fun. And he goes, oh, let me show you. And I was like, oh, okay.
He's funny.
And so he's really intense guy. And he comes into the house and he wanted to see it work. So he like plugged his laptop in, whatever, got the screen going. Yeah, okay, it works. Okay, you can take it. But he just kept on going. Like he was like so passionate about it. He's telling me about like his boss that he works for was like he's been published in all these things. And I was like, oh, so you like a doctor? He's like, oh, yeah, you know, like we have our own body. It's not the Medical Association of Australia. It's like our own governing body. I'm like, oh, okay. And so I'm like, oh, you know, let's have this conversation outside. Yeah. And so we like go outside and like get him to his car, and he's like puts his thing in the car, and I'm like, sweet, okay, we're good. And he turns back around, he's like, oh, so let me tell you a bit more about this, whatever. And then I'm like, okay, I don't really, like I said, listen, I've never really been to an osteopath. Like I don't even go to the dentist, to be honest. And so, he goes, oh, do you want me to show you? And I was like, you know what? You only get one life. Yeah, sure. And this might significantly reduce it, but let's do it. And so we're standing almost in the middle of the street, like behind his car on the street. And he goes, all right, turn around. So I turned around. He goes, put your arms out. So I got my arms out like this. And people are driving past. And and he goes, and he pushes on like the middle of my back, just with his finger, like nothing intense, just with his finger. And he goes, oh, you've got, you're a bit tight in your chest, aren't you? And I was like, oh, maybe. I'm not sure. And he goes, oh, let me get, and he pulls my arm back like this. He goes, oh yeah, I can really feel it. Can really feel it. It comes from something in your fingers here. It's tight in your chest. He goes, oh, listen, I was dealing with a pro athlete the other day, and you know the doctor couldn't do anything about this issue that he had in his brain. He had this intense migraine, and he goes, so I bent down in front of him, and I just touched his groin. And I could just tell that that's it, the inflammation was coming from the line of inflammation was coming from his. and so then he did something, and and then he said
Did something, eh?
yeah. And he said that the crux of it is inflammation. He said every issue that people have with their bodies is derived from an issue
From the
with inflammation. And so his solution, this osteopath solution, is they just apply pressure to a certain part of the body, which is usually nowhere near the symptomatic issue, the symptomatic part of the body.
Yeah.
And it apparently flushes out the inflammation.
Yeah.
And
And
so-
then he left, didn't pay you. He was like, no, I've given you enough. I've given you this value. Now I'm taking your monitor.
So yeah, very strange situation.
You were paid in services.
That's right.
So body inflammation levels, 66% below that of a 10-year-old. He had an 80% reduction in gray hair, which I don't know how you tell other than looking at pictures of your dad. I don't know. But maybe there's some...
wait, is that saying that it's gone back to being not grey?
I'm not sure. Well,
or has it all fallen out?
I assumed that
and therefore
it was...
he doesn't have much grey hair.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's gone back to not being grey, but
Yeah.
I would have assumed that it's like
80% less than the expected amount of grey hair is.
Yeah, because he's 45. If you've seen his hair, it's like jet black as well, so it looks like he dyes it anyway. But
He does. That's an easier solution, isn't it?
Yeah, maybe that's
And
part
eating
of it.
3 meals before 11, just dye your hair.
Yeah. He has maybe it's part of the thing. He has identified and corrected a ticking time bomb without any need for surgical procedures, which is interesting. So this was a bilateral internal jugular vein stenosis, which
Wow.
is IJV. So this is where there's a problem with blood flow around the head and neck flowing to the brain, the blood. So he's managed to correct that issue by identifying it with, obviously he's got 30 medical professionals around, so they probably just scan him like crazy and tell him what to do. He has a perfect liver fat ratio.
Okay.
Which I'm not sure what that ratio is, but
Who knows?
interesting.
His is perfect.
He has a fitness level of an 18-year-old. And for every 365 days, he ages 277 days. So that's the
Okay. Which
chronological versus
in that
the biological
he's going backwards.
aging.
He's going backwards quite slowly though.
Well, he's not going backwards. He's just aging slower than he would be otherwise.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
But didn't you say that did you say that he's trying to become an 18-year-old though?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure how the calculation works. But I know that he's trying. I mean, I guess he has the fitness level of an 18-year-old.
Got you. So at some point he went backwards, and then now he's progressing forwards from 18 at a lesser rate than the actual time itself.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what his biological age is. I believed that
Didn't you say it was
when
40 something?
He is 45,
Yeah.
but I don't know what his like supposed biological age is.
Right.
Like going back, like because his like actual chronological age is 45.
Yes.
But yeah, I think the idea was that he's going back to 18 and then going forward from there. So maybe he's already back at 18. I don't know.
Who makes
maybe
that
he's
decision
19
that
now.
he is? Maybe he's just decided he is. I mean,
yeah, maybe he decided. Yeah, well, he's the one that's doing the work. So
I mean, yeah,
he can have it.
It's his project.
Yeah, exactly. So with this insane routine, it would be pretty easy to guess that he has a pretty insane personal life as well, right? Next up, I'm going to talk about his fiance or his former fiance, right?
Oh.
The man's so strict on the routine, I think he's turned himself into an actual robot, right?
Yeah.
So in 2021, his former fiance filed a lawsuit against him.
Mm-hmm.
And so the basis of this, so they were together since 2018.
Yep.
And then she's been there and helped him build the brand, build, companies. The whole idea is that she's like this supporting act. She's trying to kind of come in as the wife figure.
Yeah.
I think she's trying to sort of, shoehorn in there. So she's suing him for damages and emotional distress, and for the emotional distress and financial losses. So his fiance was a TV actress named Taryn Southern, and
Taryn Southern.
Oh, classic. Yeah, no, not as well known. I didn't know who she was. But what happened to cause the breakup? Well, she got breast cancer, which means that Johnson is alleged to have told Southern she's become a net negative and a bad deal for him. So that's what the lawsuit states.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, pretty crazy, right? So before this, he had promised lifelong financial support
Yeah.
verbally, which is, I think, what the lawsuit's based on, because it's kind of like, of course he said that, like, if they're like dating or whatever, it's like, oh yeah, of course I'll support you forever,
Yeah.
Whereas, I mean, I don't know if that counts as a contract.
Well,
Yeah,
there is some interesting case law around, or there's a specific treatment between like de facto partners in if a promise, like, because the courts don't like to get in what they quote unquote like marriage and partnership is like a sacred thing, and so the courts are very hesitant to get in the middle of any promise or arrangement that's between couples, and so it's usually pretty unlikely that particularly an oral agreement, which would be assumed to be non-legal, would be upheld by the court. Is probably my quick take on that.
yeah, very interesting. Well, I'll go into the more specific wording, but when they were together, he he required her to only message him on the app Signal,
Oh yeah,
where he could
Signal.
remove trails of communications. He could set certain messages to disappear, and he also had a number of burner phones that he'd carry around with him, which is
Wow,
very
a lot.
very weird.
Yeah.
And as part of the couple's separation, the lawsuit alleges that Johnson breached an express, oral, or implied agreement whereby he would pay $149,000 toward her living and moving expenses in exchange for Miss Southern's promise to start looking for a new place to live as soon as possible. So, yeah, it's a very interesting sort of premise. He's a very interesting dude. He's definitely very crazy.
Yes, that's pretty apparent.
That's my key takeaway. He's definitely kind of optimized his life for his health thing, and so that even is shown in relationships there. So yeah,
Interesting.
it's also got like really his like skin looks like it's like covered in liquid, and like his hair is like.
Well, yeah,
Like he
I
looks
was
like he's
I
all-
was looking at him here on Google. In my mind, it's a bit of a Michael Jackson situation.
Yeah,
where he
yeah.
sort of made all of these modifications, and it's arguably not really benefited the the overall outcome.
My take is, I think in life you have to kind of, there's no point to longevity if you're not enjoying yourself. So
Oh
if you're
yeah,
gonna
I see what
live,
you're saying.
yeah, if
Live
you're gonna
forever
live
and suffer the whole time. What's the point? Are you really living?
exactly, yeah. So my point is to live pretty well, try and live a long life, try and live a good life. That's my advice to the listeners. Yeah.
I mean, it's good. It's good advice. I like it. Are you struggling to get your name out there? Do you want to attract more customers? Maybe just increase your revenue? Well, look no further than Unique. They're an all-in-one marketing agency, and they'll help take your business to the next level. They believe in marketing that should be both effective and enjoyable, and I tend to agree. So they offer a range of services such as web design, branding, social media management, and lead generation. The team of experts, they'll work with you to develop a tailored marketing strategy that fits the unique needs of your business. And they don't just stop at making you look good, but they're specialized in setting up lead generating machines. Their top secret methods will help you capture and convert your leads, leading to increased sales and revenue for your unique business. So search NEW NIQ UE on Google to learn more and schedule a free marketing consultation via their website. So let Unique take your business to the next level.
Index is a tech-focused recruitment platform passionate about scaling your engineering team, maintaining 95% placement success. To date, they've vetted over 8,000 developers, boasting on average more than 7 years experience across their recruits. Index supplies talent to industry-leading clients such as Omeo, a German unicorn that's raised almost 500 million USD, Perforce, a US-based leading DevOps solutions provider with over 300 million USD in annual revenue, and many others, some of which are backed by firms such as Goldman Sachs and Y Combinator. So if you're struggling to find the right talent, concerned about high employee costs and staff turnover, Index has the solution for you. Through comprehensive assessments, in-depth interviews, and a robust vetting process, Index can provide your business with the very best international tech talent in less than 7 business days. For contracts greater than 6 months, Index is offering a 10% discount to HQLA fans the next time you hire using their platform.